Welcome everyone to the video. Welcome to the channel. Got a great video today. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the social media and its addictiveness. And this is because of recent court rulings against social media companies that have found them to be knowingly making them addictive. So we're going to look into that today. Like the video by hitting the thumbs up, subscribing if you want to continue to see this type of content. Um, we really try to get people thinking, get people, because there's a lot of meaning behind a lot of stuff you see out there. A lot of the stuff is just surface, and we really try to dig in deep and try to go, for that deeper meaning. And we talk a lot about identity, and social media is becoming a big thing with people's identities in this day and age. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the video here. If you're just joining, I do write these scripts out. I do brainstorm them, go through the normal, like I'm in school. I feel like I'm back in school where you're writing an essay, you're getting your outline out there, getting all your thoughts, your outline, writing all your, writing things together, rewriting it, going back, I don't like this, I don't like that. Sometimes I kind of, even though I'm reading it and I'm looking at it and I'm like, why did I write that? Like, even though I have the final script ready to go, and as I'm reading it, I'm like, "Oh, did I mince my words there? Why did I do that for?" So, um, I try to do my best, and, hopefully you like it. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. Protection starts off with protection or control. I've talked a lot about control. Social media, addiction and your personal responsibility is really what we're going to be looking at here. When you hear the word addiction, you immediately go straight to what? Alcohol, drugs, cigarette. I know cigarettes were a big thing back in my day when I was younger. You think about substances that can take control of someone's life and eventually create problems, not just for the person that is consuming those types of things, but for everyone around them. Addiction does not always come, though, in a bottle or in a pack of cigarettes. It's not an illegal substance most of the time. I would say a majority of the time. People can become addicted to food, shopping. One big one right now is gambling. If you're paying attention to one of those businesses called Kalshi and Polymarket, who are trying to say they're not gambling, but they're very similar to gambling. So that's a big one. I just saw a documentary on that recently too. People can become addicted to television, video game. Back in my day when I was younger, it was all about video games. You're becoming addicted to video games. You're becoming addicted to video games. I don't hear addiction to video games that much anymore. In this day and age, now we're talking about addiction to social media. And even your work can become an addiction. Where you go to work, what you do for work, anything that gives you pleasure, comfort, validation, an escape from your daily life can become something that we depend on far too much. Something I think many people are addicted to without realizing it is coffee. I love coffee. On my other channel, I know I've gone off on some tangents about coffee. I really enjoy it. I can sit there, I could drink cup after cup. I used to do this, drink cup after cup after cup and not even think about it. But I know that that much caffeine is not healthy for me. So I limit myself. I have 2 cups in the morning. Sometimes maybe a 3rd cup towards the evening, but for the most part, it's 2 cups of coffee, and that is it. Coffee is not the problem. The problem is me drinking 10 cups a day. I can make a whole pot and slowly be sipping on it all day, and then pretending that I don't have any control over it. The coffee's in control. No, I'm pretending that I have no control over it. I know myself well enough to understand that if I do not create a safeguard, I can easily go overboard. And I think that is where addiction becomes the problem, becomes a problem. It is not always the thing itself that is the issue. It's not the coffee. It's not the alcohol. It's not social media. It's what happens when we lose the ability to recognize when enough is enough. Anything in excess can become unhealthy. Water can become unhealthy. It can become toxic in excess. You have to drink more than a liter an hour, but going out into the sun, spending so much time in the sun. Yes, the sun is healthy. We get vitamin D from the sun. The sun provides life, but it can also be very harmful if we spend too much time in there in the sun. The problem is that once someone becomes addicted, they may no longer have the right or be in the right mindset to create limits. They always believe they can stop later. Just another drink. Just let me just finish one more episode before I go to bed. Let me just finish this game. I can finish this next level video or scrolling through your phone. Doom scrolling, as they call it. Suddenly, an hour's passed, maybe several hours have passed. And you did not get enough sleep. You ignored the people around you. Maybe you didn't finish what you needed to finish. And something that began as entertainment is now interfering with your life. There's this Jerry Seinfeld skit. I don't think it's in any of the episodes, but it's where he says his nightlife, his going out life, when the going out person of his life is interfering with the getting up in the morning person and having responsibilities types of life. That's what it is. But when I hear people talking about social media addiction, it reminds me of the way people used to react to almost every single new form of entertainment. I was not around during the radio, so I don't know what that was like. But I'm sure there were people who believed the radio was going to destroy society. Families sitting around. I know this from history. Families sitting around listening to voices coming out of a box, a wooden box, instead of talking to each other. I remember my dad telling me about that. About them gathering around listening to the radio. Television came along. Now, I remember television. I remember hearing that. I remember when televisions weren't that common in households. Maybe there was one. Uh, now, I think I have like 5 TVs. I remember hearing that television was going to rot my brain. Stop watching so much television. Stop sitting so close to the television. Go outside. Do something productive. Sitting in front of the screen is going to ruin your life. Then, of course, video games. I was there with Atari and Nintendo. People were told that video games were addictive. They were antisocial, making children violent. I remember there was one game that came out that there was a lot of. I remember Mortal Kombat, but there was one on Sega CD. I can't remember. I don't know if it was banned or not, but that one was in the news a lot because of its violent nature. There were these things we're going to create an entire generation of people who cannot function in the real world. These were things I was hearing. Video games now are a massive part of our culture. People play them professionally. You could stream them online, make a living playing them. Families playing together now with, on the TV, using your Nintendo Switch. Video games are being used to tell stories that are just as complex as movies and television shows. And they're interactive. And television, which was supposedly rotten everybody's brain, is now something we openly celebrate. Everyone wants to talk about the newest show on Netflix, Hulu. It's the, what do you call it? Water cooler talk. Whenever whenever streaming service, whatever streaming service they're subscribed to, they're talking about what shows are on there. People will spend an entire weekend watching a series, come back to work on Monday excited to talk about it with their coworkers. We no longer call that television addiction. We call it binge watching. So I think we need to be careful whenever a new form of entertainment becomes popular and society immediately decides that this is the thing that is finally going to destroy us. Right now, that thing is social media. Recently, a jury found Meta and Google negligent in the design and operation of Instagram and YouTube. Uh, I think it was a young woman who argued that becoming addicted to the platforms as a child contributed to serious harm, and the jury awarded them, I think, millions of dollars. And the companies, uh, along with the companies have denied wrongdoing, and are obviously pursuing appeals, and they're going to fight it. There are now, thousands of similar cases moving through all the states and federal courts. TikTok recently settled 3 additional lawsuits that were filed by teenagers who accused the social media company of creating addictive platforms that negatively affected their mental health. This could become a major turning point in how we think about social media. But I keep coming back to the same question. At one point, does the responsibility fall on the person using it? I definitely believe social media has an addictive nature. These platforms are designed to hold your attention. I've talked about this in the past. They learn what we watch, what we react to, what makes us angry, laugh, sad, what makes us continuing to scroll. Television networks also wanted us to keep watching. Video game companies wanted us to keep playing. And company like coffee, cigarettes, whatever you want to put in there, continue want us to keep using continuing want us to continue using their products. Every business wants you to continue using its product. I don't believe we can remove all responsibility from the user simply because a company created something that's enjoyable and difficult to put down. At some point, we have to recognize our own behavior. If I'm spending 6 hours every night scrolling social media, ignoring my family, losing sleep, falling behind on things I need to do, I can't pretend I can't pretend I have absolutely zero control over that situation. I have to be willing to look at myself and admit that I have a problem. That connects directly to something I've talked about before. Very few people stop to ask whether they might be contributing to their own problems. I repeat that. Few people stop to ask whether they might be contributing to their own problems. Am I the problem? It is much easier to blame other people, blame a platform. It's easier to blame the algorithm, easier to blame the company or the government or society. Sometimes those systems absolutely do contribute to the problem, but that does not mean we are completely powerless in the situation. We have to create safeguards before we reach the point where we can no longer think clearly enough to create them. That might mean setting a time limit. It might mean keeping the phone out of the bedroom. It might simply mean recognizing that every empty moment of your life does not need to be filled staring at a screen. But this becomes more complicated when we start talking about children. An adult should have some understanding of manipulation, advertising, personal responsibility. The child is still developing those abilities. They may not understand that the platform is studying their behavior. They might not know why they feel anxious when a post does not receive enough attention, or why they keep comparing themselves with people who appear to have perfect lives. So I understand the argument that children may need protection, but protection can very easily become control. Once we say people are incapable of controlling themselves, someone else will eventually offer to control them. Maybe it's the government or the courts. Maybe it's the tech companies themselves deciding what you should and should not be allowed to see. And we have to be careful with that. We have talked about how control rarely arrives by announcing itself as control. It usually arrives as a form of protection. It tells you it's keeping you safe, tells you that these restrictions are for your own good. Sometimes that may be true, but once we surrender that authority, getting it back won't be very easy at all. This is the difficult balance. Social media companies should not be allowed to deliberately manipulate children and then avoid all responsibility by saying nobody forced them to use the platform. But adults should not be treated as completely helpless either. Freedom cannot mean that corporations are free to manipulate us without consequences, but freedom also cannot mean that we surrender every personal decision to the government because controlling ourselves has become difficult. Maybe the answer begins with honesty. I come back to this often. We need to we need to honestly recognize that social media can become addictive. We also need to honestly recognize that we participate in that addiction every time we refuse to put the phone down. Also, what are your children seeing in you? Are your children seeing you with your phone constantly, whether you're scrolling through social media or not? Are you at the dinner table scrolling through your phone? Are you out and about somewhere pointing the finger at yourself? Again, am I the problem? The platform, may place the next video in front of us, in front of your children, in front of you, but we are the ones that are still pressing play. We are the ones that are still staring at it. The algorithm may learn what keeps us engaged, but we are continuing to teach it. I enjoy coffee. I love coffee. But I understand that enjoying something does not mean I should consume an unlimited amount of it. The same should apply for entertainment, social media. We should not have to eliminate everything we enjoy simply because it can become addictive. We simply need to learn how to enjoy these things without allowing them to become our identity or control our lives. Because once we lose the ability to create our own limits, someone else will start to create those limits for us. Someone else will start to create those limits for your children. And they might not stop where we would like them to stop at. So maybe the real question is not whether social media is addictive. I think most of us already know that it can be addictive. The real question is whether we still have enough control over ourselves to recognize when we've had enough. Personal safeguards can preserve our freedom. But when we refuse to create those safeguards ourselves, we leave the door open for the court, corporations, government to decide what protection should then go ahead and look like. They will decide what protection should look like for your children. And at that point, protection and control, protection and control, to repeat it, control can begin to look exactly the same. Hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this really hits home or really opens up your mind. And again, like I've said, I repeated it several times, pointing the finger at ourselves. Am I the problem? Are we the problem? Do not set up. Yes, the government is there to set up protections and things, but don't give it up 100% to them. Okay. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.